Tonight on the WHAS 1119, the general election is months away, but Kentucky gubernatorial candidates are kicking their campaigns off strong.
We are going to get out there. We are going to win this race.
And we are going to make Andy Beshear a one-term governor come this November.
What tone the candidates are setting, and more details on the 48-hour manhunt for an escaped Trimble County inmate. Then,
we are celebrating recovery today at Volunteers of America.
Celebrating a milestone, a year of helping to fight addiction. The WHAS 1119 starts now. Well, the stage is set for Kentucky's 2023 gubernatorial election as Republican Attorney General Daniel Cameron prepares to face off against incumbent Democratic Governor Andy Beshear. Hello, everyone. I'm Bobby McSwine. Both candidates wasted no time attempting to set the tone for this November, with both kicking off the start of their campaign trail this week. WHAS 11's Connor Steffen and Jessica Farley spoke one-on-one with the governor as he traveled to Louisville.
Looking past the primaries in Kentucky, the race to November's gubernatorial election is picking up by the day.
We are going to get out there. We are going to win this race.
And we are going to make Andy Beshear a one-term governor come this November.
With Kentucky AG Daniel Cameron celebrating his nomination alongside other GOP leaders earlier this week. It was Governor Andy Beshear's turn to kick off his re-election campaign this weekend. 3 days, 15 cities, and a clear-cut message.
You'd think with a crowd like this, that this election might not be that difficult. It's gonna be.
Recent polling puts Beshear's approval rate above 60%. Still, he faces steep challenges toward a second term. We asked the governor about those challenges in a one-on-one interview on the way to a second campaign stop Saturday. Chief among them, the uptick in Republican voter registration statewide and the growing polarization in politics.
You know, my job as governor isn't to move a state to the right or left, but to move it forward for every family. The other side's just going to call each other, call me names, I guess, stoke division, and that doesn't help any of us.
Kentucky's GOP looked to nationalize the race during Thursday's press conference, taking shots at Beshear for, in their words, not holding President Biden accountable surrounding U.S. border security and wokeness in Kentucky schools. Cameron also calling Beshear out for this.
We need to have the Kentucky State Police work with local law enforcement agencies. Andy Beshear said no. He essentially said, I'm going to sit on my hands.
You know, LMPD has over 1,000 officers. We only have about 800 troopers. And so when Daniel Cameron talks about bringing a KSP post to Louisville, he's talking about taking a trooper from eastern or western Kentucky, where they're probably the only one that's patrolling in that county, making other people less safe.
Out on the campaign trail so far, we've heard Beshear tout his first-term successes: record economic development, increasing wages, and rapid job growth.
Andy Beshear is, during this election season, going to try to take credit for things that he didn't do.
GOP lawmakers believe credit belongs to them and other officials belonging to the state's Republican supermajority.
With that list of accomplishments, there's enough credit to go around, and I'm happy to include anybody else in that credit, because this isn't about me, and it's not about my opponent. It's about the people of Kentucky.
Voters. Both candidates are working diligently to reach ahead of November. In Louisville, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 1119 on your side.
A dozen people have been shot in just over 24 hours here in the city of Louisville, including 3 teens and 2 kids under 5 years old. The latest happening just over an hour ago. LMPD says they responded to Grand Meadow Lane near Grandel Boulevard. When officers arrived, they found a man who had been shot. He was transported to a local hospital. He is expected to survive. Meanwhile, a short time later, 2 more men showed up at the hospital with non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Police believe all 3 were shot at the same place. And the shootings all began at around 8:30 Saturday evening in the Wyandotte neighborhood. There, officers responded to Beecher Street to reports of a shooting. When officers arrived, they found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. He was transported to the hospital where he is expected to survive. In this case, police do believe they have all of the involved parties. Meanwhile, a few hours later, officers say they responded to the scene of multiple people shot on North 34th Street near Bank Street. When officers arrived, they found 4 women had been shot. 3 of them were 17 years old. All were transported to the hospital where they are expected to survive. And about 10 minutes earlier, officers were dispatched to reports of a shooting on 24th Street near Magazine Street. When officers arrived, they found a woman and her 5-year-old son had been shot. Both were transported to the hospital, where they are also expected to survive. A 3-year-old was also with the two victims, but was not injured. Police are working to determine if those shot were the intended targets. Officers were then called to Norton Children's Hospital at about 3 this morning when a 3-year-old there was taken due to a gunshot wound to the leg. Police were told the child was shot sometime between 10 and 11 p.m. on 32nd Street near Greenwood Avenue. The child is expected to survive. About an hour later, police were dispatched to the Park Hill neighborhood to reports of a carjacking. When officers arrived, they found a man who had been shot. He advised officers that another man and a woman had stolen his car at gunpoint, and when he tried to run away, they shot him. The victim was taken to the hospital, where he is expected to survive. Now, anyone with any information about any of these shootings is encouraged to call the anonymous tip line. That's 574-LMPD, or you can submit a tip via the online portal. We're learning more about exactly what happened after an inmate escaped the back of a sheriff's SUV Thursday morning. Norman Wolf was brought into custody yesterday and is now facing charges of criminal mischief, kidnapping, escaping, and robbery. Dramatic video sent exclusively to WHAS captured his escape from a prison transport car. Within minutes, he can be seen jumping from the car and running across lanes of traffic before disappearing into the tree line. According to court documents, Wolf walked up a creek line and approached a woman on Brownsboro Road near Goose Creek Road. Arrest citations show Wolf asked the woman for bolt cutters, and she told him to get off of her property. The woman ended up chasing Wolf while armed with a handgun, but at some point during that chase, she dropped the gun. That's when Wolf returned and threatened the woman, saying he had just escaped and had a gun. Another neighbor heard the disturbance and walked over to see what was happening. Wolf threatened them both and forced them into the back of a neighbor's truck. They then drove Wolf to the Clifton Heights neighborhood, where he would be captured 2 days later. Neighbors in the area we spoke to say they are glad to see him back behind bars.
The only answer that I want to see is that he's locked up and he's not getting back out.
I haven't really had a lot of chance to process that he was down here, but overall I feel pretty safe.
Wolf is expected to appear in court again tomorrow. A man is dead after a crash on the outer loop this evening. LMPD says at about 5:30, they responded to the crash on outer loop at Robbs Lane. Police say an SUV was traveling towards Jefferson Mall when it attempted to turn left onto Robbs Lane. While turning, the SUV hit a motorcycle. The driver of the motorcycle received fatal injuries, while the driver of the SUV was transported to the hospital, where he is expected to survive. Police say no charges are expected at this time. Today, Farmington held a rededication ceremony for a memorial on its property, honoring the lives of the African Americans who were enslaved there between 1809 and 1865. Farmington was a 550-acre hemp farm 6 miles from Louisville on the Bardstown Pike. The memorial is designed to provide a quiet spot to acknowledge the contributions of the Farmington slaves and to contemplate slavery and its local and national impact.
If you want to know why Black Americans today are financially at the bottom, it is because of 246 years of slavery, 100 years of legal segregation, 50 years of benign neglect, and present day de facto oppression and just ignorance. And that is why us gathering here and what Brother Duffy has done to call attention to this is critically important.
The rededicated medallion is supposed to personify some of the up to 60 enslaved African Americans present at Farmington in the early 19th century. It also makes reference to the farm's main crop, hemp. Well, today, Volunteers of America celebrated a year of accomplishments at the newly named Liberty Place. The VOA's Shelby Men's Recovery Center was renamed in May of last year. The name honors the goals of the men enrolled in the program to liberate them from substance use disorder and help them lead healthy and productive lives.
Unfortunately, there's not a Kentuckian that I've met that hasn't had their families personally impacted by substance use disorder. And we're just so grateful to be able to offer this life-saving program to every man who needs it.
Today's festivities included yard games, fellowship, dinner, and a special poetry reading from one of the VOA's board members and program graduate, Ricky Green.